My encounter with Egypt really began on this island back in 1989 and 1990 because this part of Elephantine Island was settled by a substantial Jewish community around about 750 years before Christ. And 100 years later, around about 650 BC, they built a temple here. And no remains of the temple exist. All that remains are the housing of the substantial Jewish population. These people were soldiers who defended they were mercenaries, and they defended the southern border of Egypt at this time. And then suddenly this enormous temple is built, and we know from letters that were exchanged, which have survived, they were written on potsherds between the community here and the priesthood in Jerusalem, that this temple had the identical dimensions as the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem and was built of the identical materials. The reason I got into this was because I was researching the Ark of the Covenant and its connections with Ethiopia, which is just a long way south of here following the Nile, and with the Holy Land. And it seemed to me, and this is the argument that I made in the book The Sign and the Seal, that this temple was built to house the Ark of the Covenant, and that the Ark of the Covenant left Jerusalem not in 587 BC when Jerusalem was destroyed by the Babylonians, but actually around 650 BC when there was a monarch called Manasseh on the throne in Jerusalem, who was reviled for abandoning the traditional Judaic religion. And I think that his acts of heresy led the priesthood to remove the ark and bring it here. And here it stayed on this island, according to my view, until 400 BC, when this temple was destroyed. There was a conflict between the Jews and the ancient Egyptians of that time, and the conflict came about because the deity of this island is Khnum, who is a ram-headed deity, and there were objections to the sacrifice of rams by the Jews. The temple was destroyed. We do not know what happened to the community, but at exactly that time, give or take 50 years, there's a very strong tradition in Ethiopia that a group of Jews turned up in Ethiopia with the Ark of the Covenant and placed it on the island of Tana Kirkos on Lake Tana. It's a long walk, but if you follow the Nile system south and branch off onto the Blue Nile, which is actually the source of most of the water in the Nile, you find yourself in Lake Tana, where this island is. And then from that time we've got a continuous tradition of the presence of the Ark of the Covenant in Ethiopia. And we have the presence of the Falashas, or the Beta Israel, the so-called black Jews of Ethiopia, who practice a pre-Talmudic Judaic, Old Testament Judaic religion. So this was a very important piece of the puzzle for me as to explain rationally to historians how the Ark of the Covenant could have got from Jerusalem to Ethiopia by way of this island. So that's my little spiel. And it was an initiation for me. After this, I became captivated by the magic of Egypt. How could I not? And that sense of unexplained mysteries was key to the research that then led to Fingerprints of the Gods.
You haven't been back here since you were doing
I've not
research,
been back
right?
to Elephantine. I've been all over the rest of Egypt, but to this particular site and the Jewish temple, because my research moved on, I'd done that, and I was looking at other things.
I'll tell you how we met because of
There's
this.
a strange Ethiopian connection there.
In 1993, I had bought a copy of Sign and the Seal, and of course I got to know of Graham. I mean, I was not writing books in those days. And I happened to be in Cairo on the day that a terrorist attack, or rather a terrorist bomb, blew up in Tahrir Square. And everybody got spooked. And this was a perfect opportunity for me to photograph in the Cairo Museum because there was nobody. So I took the cameras, my camera, and went in. And while I was taking photographs, I was very near the statue of Ramses II. Ramses II is the man who supposedly is part of the story of Genesis. And while I was there was a commotion at the door, and I noticed that a group of priests from the Coptic church, in fact there was the Bishop of Cairo, named Moses, believe it or not, it's called Moses, And with 2 or 3, I can't remember, priests from Ethiopia. They looked terrific. They had these beards and were carrying crosses. And as they passed near the statue of Ramses II, I thought, this is great. You know, we got Moses, we got Ramses II. Let me take a unique shot. And as I raised my camera, I was jumped by 2 bodyguards. They thought I had a gun or something. But then the Bishop of Cairo, who felt a bit sorry about this, called me up and said, "You want a picture?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Come with us." And I stood with them, and the bodyguard took a picture. And I thought, this is great. I'm going to send it to Graham Hancock. He's going to like this. But in any case, Graham Hancock put in the bottom of his file, thought, who is this guy? You know, another one of his fans, and forgot about me till I published the Orion Mystery, right?
Yeah. I have to complete the story. After I finished The Sign of the Seal, for some reason or other, I don't know why, I fell into a depression, and I received thousands of letters about that book, and I couldn't open any of them. I was so down, I just used to stick them under my bed. and there were lots and lots of letters, which I never opened. Anyway, I came out of the depression, and then I learned about this extraordinary new theory about the Egyptian pyramids. And the Orion correlation, and I first heard the name Robert Bauval. As a matter of fact, I heard it from my literary agent because he was about to represent Robert. And I said, "Come on, Bill, it's just another pyramid theory." He said, "No, this is serious. This is something different, and you know, I think you should get in touch with Robert." So I got in touch with Robert and went down to see him at his home, and he said, "You never replied to my letter." So I went back to the house and I went through the pile of letters under the bed, and sure enough, there it was. So somehow or other, I think we were meant to meet.
All right, we'll stroll back because a lot of you want to frolic in the Nile, right?
Yeah,
So
to some degree.
yeah, okay. So let's go back so we get as much time as we can.